The miraculous Nephilim revealed discover the divine giants of faith, redemption, and God's plan. In the days of old, when the earth was filled with violence and wickedness, the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. The Nephilim, mighty giants, the offspring of these unnatural unions, roamed the land, striking fear into the hearts of men. With each passing day, darkness thickened the air, a palpable heaviness of sin saturating every corner of human existence. Amid this turmoil, there stood Noah, a man of righteousness, whose heart was pierced by the cries of the corrupted world around him. Noah felt the weight of sin like a cloak, worn heavy upon his shoulders. The laughter of the unrighteous echoed in his ears, mingling with the cries of the creation that longed for redemption. He gazed toward the shadowy silhouettes of the Nephilim, their towering forms casting long shadows over the land, mere reminders that chaos had taken root. Each day, Noah wrestled with conflicting emotions, an ache for a society blind to its impending doom, and a burdened heart, mourning for souls who turned away from the Creator who breathed life into them. But one fateful day, amid the tumultuous backdrop of evil, the voice of the Almighty pierced through the din of corruption. God, grieved over the rampant depravity, spoke to Noah, revealing the solemn proclamation of an imminent flood, a cleansing judgment that would wash away the iniquity that had tainted his good creation. He commanded Noah to build an ark, a colossal vessel, defying logic and human reason, yet a testament to faith amid mockery. As the project began, Noah gathered timber, each axe swing met by jeers from the onlooking multitudes. "What is this folly?" they shouted, their scorn echoing across the valley, undeterred by Noah's unwavering conviction. Each piece added was testament to a promise of salvation, one that they could not fathom, for their hearts were hardened against the truth. Time flowed like the rivers swollen with rain, and as the atmospheric tension built, dark clouds gathered ominously above. The first droplets began to fall, a herald of judgment that trembled through the earth. Each drop seemed to quench the laughter of the unrighteous, an ancient sorrow transforming into a swelling wave of dire significance. But as the heavens opened, Noah's spirit remained resolute, knowing the weight of this moment. His faith and obedience rested on the fragile hope of God's vow. Standing firm in the eye of the looming storm, Noah grappled with the profound sorrow of the world around him. The Nephilim, embodiments of the battle between good and evil, cast their intimidating presence over him. Their origins tantalized his thoughts, while they silently posed a question: would these giants be instruments of destruction or shadows of what could have been had creation remained faithful to its maker? As the waters continued to rise, an immense burden settled upon Noah, his heart both a vessel of salvation and a witness to impending destruction. Would his faith hold firm as chaos unfolded before his eyes? Could God's covenant withstand the deluge of sin that sought to engulf the very heart of the world? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. Within the crescendo of rain, each droplet whispered the urgency of divine judgment. No longer sat complacently did Noah, but began to see through the eyes of God the cosmic tapestry of grace woven through the strands of destruction. A narrative deeper than he could comprehend. With faith fueling his every move, he braced for the revelation of God's magnificent yet harrowing plan, one that would challenge both his heart and every soul of this fallen world. Will Noah's faith endure as the heavens unleash their fury, and can God's covenant stand against the chaos of his own creation? As the rise of the waters commenced, the unfathomable course of salvation veiled itself in mystery, leaving the faithful yearning for the full revelation of the divine promise. As the heavens unleashed their torrent upon the earth, the waters grew restless, rising with a fierce determination that sought to cleanse the sin-soaked land. Amidst the clamor and chaos, Noah heard the groans of creation itself, imploring its maker for mercy. The once vibrant earth, now sullied by the weight of wickedness, sagged beneath the deluge, and the air thickened with unrepentant cries. In the midst of this harrowing reality, God renewed his covenant with Noah, whispering words of profound promise into the depths of his being. "For you have found favor in my eyes," the voice echoed, a beacon of hope piercing through the turbulent veil of despair. "You shall enter the ark, you and your household, for I will establish my covenant with you." Genesis 6 verse 18. With each proclamation from the Almighty, Noah felt the chains of anguish loosen, replaced by an unwavering assurance that transcended the storm's roiling shadows. With urgency deepening in his spirit, Noah gathered his family, instructing them in the solemn preparations that lay ahead. The animals, chosen by God's hand, approached the ark in pairs, every creature entering, a testament to divine orchestration amidst chaos. The great doors of the ark creaked open, a foreshadowing of both preservation and judgment, for it was the very threshold that would separate what was holy from that which was lost, and as the last of the creatures filed in, a great silence fell over the land. The laughter that had mocked Noah's efforts was swallowed by the rising tide. In that moment of stillness, he could feel a cosmic tension, a battle not merely of flesh and blood but against principalities and powers that had bewitched the hearts of men. The Nephilim, those giants of old, loomed large in his thoughts. Were they merely shadows of judgment, or would they play a role in the unfolding drama of redemption? Their very beings were a testament to the mixture of divine purpose and human failure. The rain fell harder, each drop a sonorous reminder of the urgency of surrender. The unyielding waters began to pour forth from the heavens, primordial chaos reclaimed the earth, crashing against the ark as Noah's faith held steadfast against such unfathomable fury. Faith and the unwavering promise of a God who would not abandon his creation sustained him as they sailed upon the waves of a world undone. In the depths of the ark, Noah sensed God's presence, wrapping around him like a celestial embrace, transcending the tumult above. The pounding rain became a rhythmic prayer, echoing the fervent longing of those who sought God amidst despair. With his family gathered close, every heartbeat aligned in anticipation of the unknown, he felt the weight of covenant promise that even in calamity, salvation awaited. But as the ark bobbed upon the deluge, a mysterious thought began to stir within Noah's heart. Had God allowed the Nephilim to persist for a purpose beyond destruction? Were they remnants of an ancient story, intertwined with a promise yet unfulfilled? The giants that had cast shadows upon his life now ignited questions of significance, hinting at a deeper mystery woven into the fabric of God's plan. And so, the flood continued to rise as the heavens wept for a world lost to sin. Yet within the belly of the ark, a glimmer of divine hope ignited with a singular question echoing across the vastness: what new creation would emerge from the depths of judgment? The promise of a future unspooled before Noah, a mystery of redemption transcending time and creation awaited revelation, for in the unfolding chaos, God's sovereign hand was at work, preparing for a new beginning, reminding Noah that every shadow cast by the giants of old beckoned towards the dawn of his glorious covenant. Would the seeds of redemption be sown even amidst the chaos? The world remained silent, but the promise trembled in anticipation, yearning for its fulfillment. As the waters raged and the tempest howled, enveloping the world outside in darkness and despair, Noah found himself anchored in the sanctuary of the ark, a refuge not merely of wood and nails, but of divine promise. Day after day, the rain fell without ceasing, and the waters pressed against the ark with a violent thirst. In this cocoon of safety, each thrum of the vessel's frame resonated with the pulse of faith, echoing high praises unto the Creator who commanded the very torrent that now roared around them. Within the dimly lit space, time and its restraints seemed to slip away like the receding waves beneath the ark. Noah, laboring under the weight of fulfillment, often gathered his family, recounting tales of God's unwavering love and protection. "Remember," he would say, "he who provided for us the ark will guide us through this storm. Just as he brought the creatures, so he does not abandon us." Their eyes, gleaming with solemn understanding, reflected back the hope that flickered amongst the beasts marked for preservation. Yet, as days turned to weeks, a deeper sense of foreboding settled in Noah's heart. He felt the weight of the Nephilim upon his spirit, the concealed truth of their existence beneath the surface of shameful legacy and burdensome memory. Mighty giants, their echoes seared through his thoughts. What role do they have in this divine tapestry? The very essence of their being, a mixture of the earthly and the ethereal, stirred in him questions veiled in mystery. One fateful evening, as the sounds of relentless rain enveloped the ark, Noah sought solace in prayer, lifting his voice to the heavens. "O Lord, why have you allowed the Nephilim to remain? What hidden purpose do they serve in your grand design? The winds howled in response, and the tumult above seemed to quiet, as if all of creation leaned in to hear the answer. In that holy silence, a revelation gripped him, a vision thrummed behind his eyelids as fiery clarity unfolded like an ancient scroll. He saw not only the giants' terrifying remnants but a lineage entwined with the promise of new beginnings. The brooding shadow of judgment clung tightly to their legacy, yet beneath lay the seed of hope, a prophetic whisper that, even in darkness, God's grace would birth something spectacular. From these giants, perhaps meant as adversaries, could arise a line of faith, a testament that even the most monumental of sins could not eclipse the light of redemption. Noah's heart raced, filled now with renewed vigor. He turned to his family, a fire ignited within his soul as he spoke with fervor. Though the world outside is swallowed by chaos, we are not abandoned. God calls us to remember His purpose prevails even in shadows deep. The Nephilim in their fallen glory hint at a redemptive promise that stretches across an unfathomable divide. As he spoke, the ark creaked gently beneath his feet, and he felt the presence of the Almighty enveloping them, as if He whispered gentle affirmations into their souls. He prayed with a boldness that resonated through the chamber. Mighty Creator, let us not forget that even amidst disgrace, You are weaving a new narrative, a tapestry where giants in faith reclaim their story. And so, as the rain deluged and the flood swelled, the fear of the Nephilim transformed into an orbit of expectation within Noah's heart, a reminder that God's ultimate plan, though often shrouded in enigma, is one of profound restoration. What new legacy might they pave? What giants in faith awaited rebirth upon the earth once more? Thus, even as the storm raged around them, and the past loomed heavy, Noah clutched tightly to the promise of God's sovereign plan. He understood now, the Nephilim were not merely relics of judgment, but an integral part of God's unfolding redemptive narrative, a mystery still veiled in divine wisdom, waiting to be revealed. The heavens bore witness, and the whispers of new creation began to stir once more, beckoning out of darkness into His marvelous light. As the rain continued its relentless barrage upon the ark, a profound hush began to settle among the family of Noah. The animals too, gathered in their spaces, sensed an unusual stillness, as if the very essence of creation was poised on the edge of revelation. With each passing moment, Noah's heart grew tender, reflecting on the sanctity of the lives preserved within the wooden walls. In the tender dimness of the ark, Methuselah, Noah's grandfather, aged in both years and wisdom, approached him. "Son," he whispered, his voice both trembling and steady, "in the silence of the storm, what has the Lord whispered to your spirit? What new covenant does He unveil?" Noah, drawn by the gravity of his ancestor's query, considered the echoes of his earlier prayers. "Father," he replied, "an understanding washes over me like the flood outside. The Nephilim, though they walk in darkness, carry within them echoes of grace." His words were intertwined with fervor. Perhaps their existence is less about judgment and more about the promise of restoration. Methuselah's eyes widened, recognizing a glimmer of the divine insight that had always been present within Noah. The shadows of the past often conceal the light of the future. "Speak boldly, for the Lord's ways are wondrous." With renewed purpose, Noah gathered his family. "Listen." He spoke, urgency pervading his tone. "The Lord has shown me that even from what seems lost, His redemptive hand is working. The Nephilim, with their mighty stature and daunting legacy, may yet become vessels of His promise. The darkest stories herald the brightest truths." As evening descended in the ark, a quiet reverence enveloped them all. Ham, the youngest son, filled with youthful zeal, asked boldly, "But how can these giants, so entwined with our sorrow, be part of God's plan? What can rise from the remnants of such destruction?" Noah knew, Noah replied, a gentle authority in his voice, that the Lord can transform even the hardest of hearts. Just as He brought forth life in us, perhaps He has a greater purpose for them to demonstrate His power over all creation. The brutal judgment upon the earth clenched around their fate, but God does not forsake His creation. The storms outside, they realized, were not merely of water but of divine reckoning. The narrative which had unfolded was one of destruction for the wicked but also an invitation for the faithful. God sought not just to cleanse the earth, but to create anew. As though responding to their collective revelation, a gentle lull came upon the waters, and an ethereal light began to shimmer through the small windows of the ark. It illuminated the faces of those who had weathered the storm of despair, filling their hearts with the certitude of a promise the dawn of a new beginning awaited them. In this sacred moment, Shem spoke with conviction, "Will we not now take our stand for these giants? They are part of our history, however painful, and in remembering them, may we find a path to overcoming." The silence deepened, the family joined hands, sinking deeper into prayer, their voices soft yet resolute. "Mighty Lord, if it is your will, revive and renew. From the agony of giants, let us discover the glory of redemption. May our eyes behold the beauty of your salvation." Indeed, even as their voices faded into the stillness, a heavy presence settled with them. The promise of God loomed large, greater than the flood around them, a sovereign narrative unfolding that only the Almighty could fully comprehend, and so, as the dawn's light edged closer to the horizon, amid the storm now gradually relenting, hidden truths long awaited began to unfurl. For the giants of the earth were not merely remnants of chaos. They might once again rise, not in rebellion, but as symbols of faith, reminders of the unfathomable grace of God. As hope thrummed within Noah's heart, he understood without doubt that while the tempest raged without, a new legacy was preparing to be crafted within the refuge of the ark, a promise poised to echo throughout generations yet unseen. What magnificent story would emerge from the ashes of giants? The trembling earth seemed to whisper an answer yet unseen, an answer that would align with the very heart of the Creator. As the first light of dawn penetrated the heavy clouds, it cast a gentle hue upon the surface of the still waters enveloping the ark. A serene calm filled the air, an air thick with expectancy. Noah stood by the window, gazing out upon the vast expanse of water that now covered the earth, pondering the path ahead. The sound of footsteps broke the silence, and Noah turned to find his sons approaching him, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, their expressions reflecting both fear and awe. "Father," Shem began, his voice steady yet filled with wonder, "the storm has quieted, and the Lord has preserved us, but what shall we do now? What lies beyond this vessel of refuge?" Noah took a deep breath, his heart heavy yet buoyed by faith. "The Lord has delivered us, sons, for we have been chosen to witness His grace. Beyond this ark lies a world awaiting rebirth. Yet the Nephilim remain, their stories interwoven with our own. We cannot forget who they were, nor the trials they brought upon the earth." Ham spoke up with youthful determination, "Are we to seek a means of their redemption? Can giants like them ever fit into God's new creation?" Noah's wisdom affirmed it. Noah replied, each word deliberate and filled with compassion. "Even giants, though flawed, still reflect the Creator. It is not their strength that defines them, but what God can achieve through them. If we are to embrace the promise ahead, we must embrace the weight of the past." As the family gathered for their morning meal, a collective spirit of contemplation enveloped them. Methuselah, still a guiding light among them, inclined his head and prayed, "Lord of heaven, guide us as we step forth into the unknown. Lead our hearts to understand your grand design, how every life, even those touched by darkness, can find light in your presence." Just then, a ripple of wind whispered across the surface of the water, stirring the stillness that had settled. The ark creaked softly, as if acknowledging the prayer. Suddenly, a gentle thumping began to resonate from beyond the ark, a series of rhythmic strikes that sent waves of curiosity through the family. What could that be? Japheth asked, his eyes wide with alertness. Noah asked them to remain quiet. The sound continued, pulsating through the air like a heartbeat. In that moment, a realization washed over him. The Nephilim, kept from destruction, might still exist, trapped in their own destinies, waiting for a moment to arise. With urgency, Noah encouraged his family, "We must investigate, for within that sound may lie a new revelation of God's work among us." With a glimmer of resolve, he opened the door of the ark, and the fresh scent of water and earth mingled in the air, invigorating their spirits. As they stepped out onto the wooden ramp, an inexplicable warm light pierced through the haze surrounding them. They shielded their eyes, for what lay before them was not merely an earth submerged in water, but an expanse alive with budding life. Reviving sprouts began to emerge from the depths, rising as symbols of hope. Suddenly, from behind a looming hill, emerged figures not monstrous shapes but those of great stature, their eyes glowing with a flicker of understanding and sorrow. The first glimpse was astonishing. The Nephilim had endured, not as enemies, but as weary souls. They had not been fully forsaken. With voices that rumbled like thunder, the giants called forth to Noah. Stirred by the winds of the new world, we seek forgiveness from the Almighty. We know our scars and our mistakes. Are we to find grace where once we sowed chaos? In that defining moment, Noah felt the weight of their burden as his heart quickened. Indeed, even you can turn toward his mercy, for his promise extends unto all. If we should unite our hearts in faith, perhaps the fall of giants can lead to the rising of a covenant renewed. The family stood firm, inhaling the spirit of possibility as the giants stepped closer, their hearts echoing the longing for redemption that mirrored their in this sacred encounter. Hope vibrated through the air, intertwining destinies long thought severed. Was it possible that a bond forged in faith could reshape even those once feared? As dawn's first rays beamed upon the merging of these remnants of the past and the promise of new beginnings, a vision spread before Noah, of a lineage healed and restored. Yet as the promise unfolded, a weighty truth lingered: not all would choose to embrace the whisper of grace. What would emerge from this divine intersection of giants and men? The unfolding mystery beckoned them forward, urging them to discover how far God's redemptive love could reach, even amongst those once cast out. The echoes of the past still lingered, daring them to imagine anew, for only in the divine plan would they find the answers they sought. As the sun's rays broke through the clouds, bathing the world in a golden hue, Noah stood at the threshold of the ark, courage warring with uncertainty in his heart. Before him stood the Nephilim, towering figures of yore, their forms heavy with the weight of past transgressions, yet glimmering with the hope of transformation. "Brothers," Noah called out, his voice clear yet tender, "you seek the mercy of the Almighty as we all do. But know this, the path to redemption is fraught with trial. We must invite not only His grace but His guidance as we move forth into this new covenant." The giant's eyes shimmered with a deep understanding, revealing an earnest desire for forgiveness. "We acknowledge our sins and the darkness we brought upon the earth. Guide us that we may walk back into the light." One of them spoke, his voice resonating like thunder across the valley. Noah gestured for his sons to approach, bringing together this unexpected assembly. Shem stepped forward, his eyes wide with reverence. "What if we were to create a new kinship? A union born not simply of past deeds, but of shared faith in God's promise?" Ham nodded, his spirit ignited with vision. "Together, we can build a community that seeks to right the wrongs of old. The Lord desires not our isolation but our unity." Japheth, with an arms outstretched gesture, proclaimed, "Let us partake in the memory of the Lord's covenant with our ancestors. Let new coats be woven that embrace all differing histories." The Nephilim stood still for a moment, contemplating the boldness of this family's invitation. There was heaviness in their hearts, yet a flicker of light seemed to ignite amidst the depths of their souls. As the warm light enveloped them, Noah realized that forgiveness could truly usher in new beginnings. "Let us prepare an altar," he said, "for the Lord desires our hearts to connect in the tapestry of this recovery. We will offer sacrifices of praise, uniting our spirits in reverence." Then, as the family and the giants gathered stones from the earth, a sudden hush fell over the atmosphere. A spirit of expectancy occupied their hearts. Surely the Lord who had brought them through the deluge would reveal His countenance anew. When the altar was built, Methuselah raised his voice in prayer. "O Lord, hear our cries, both of those who have known the depths of despair and those who seek the heights of your grace. Let this act of unity be a sweet aroma unto you, a testament that your mercy knows no bounds." As the fragrant offerings were laid upon the altar, a consuming fire descended from the heavens, illuminating the dawn and engulfing the sacrifice in divine love. In that moment, the earth itself seemed to tremble with the awakening of new life. A cleaving of the old had begun. Noah's heart leapt with joy as he felt the unmistakable presence of the Almighty enveloping them. "You see now, my brothers and sisters, it is not our past that defines us, but the promise of the future that compels us forward. For behold, out of the ashes, a new lineage shall arise. A covenant not of destruction, but of rebirth. Yet just as hope filled their beings, a thunderous voice echoed from the heavens, heavier than the storm that had previously swept across the earth. Beware, O children of my creation! For a choice lingers in the balance, not all will walk this path of light. The giants and the family exchanged glances, the new weight of divine warning rippling through the air, leaving an unsettling tremor in their hearts. What lies ahead? Noah mused, the tension thickening with anticipation and uncertainty. Could this fragile unity withstand the trials to come? With renewed determination and clarity, Noah looked upon the Nephilim, praying inwardly for wisdom. The promise of a new era had been born in flame and faith, yet shadows still threatened to encroach. How far would they be willing to pursue this divine purpose, and what would transpire when the trials of flesh and spirit rose to confront them? The dawn had broken upon a new beginning, but its fullness remained enigmatic, whispering secrets of God's sovereign plan yet to unfold. As the fire danced upon the altar, the air heavy with incense and reverence, Noah stood before the assembly, his heart alight with a mixture of awe and trepidation. His voice, tempered by the weight of responsibility, rang out clearly. The Lord has sent forth his fire, a sign of his acceptance. Let us now gather as one people, forging a bond that transcends our histories. The Nephilim, towering figures, encircled the family, their shadows casting long across the ground, yet their hearts now lifted with purpose. One of the giants, whom they called Og, stepped forward, his voice deep and resonant. Noah, we have long been lost in the heritage of our forefathers, but with you, we sense the call to be more. What shall we do to demonstrate our faith in this covenant? First, Noah replied, we must walk in humility, understanding the depths of our shared frailty. Our commitment to this path requires both sacrifice and the laying down of pride. Each day, we will seek his guidance through prayer and the wisdom of his word. With that, the assembled group fell to their knees, the soil beneath them marking the beginning of a new lineage. In that quiet moment of supplication, a profound silence reigned. The wind stilled, and the heavens held their breath, as they sought the face of the one who had delivered them from the waters. Shem, emboldened by the spirit of unity, rose from his knees and suggested, let us document our journey, both the trials and the triumphs, so that future generations may remember the weight of this covenant. Lord, guide our hands as we write of your faithfulness. The others murmured in agreement, each realizing the importance of remembering what the Lord had reclaimed. In the coming days, they crafted scrolls from leather and birch, etching words of devotion and the chronicles of their union, but even amidst these moments of hope, a shadow flickered across the Nephilim's hearts. They remembered their past transgressions, the pride and arrogance that had marred their lineage. One among them, Goliath, pondered aloud, what if we falter? What if our past still haunts our steps, seeking to ensnare us once more? Noah's gaze met his, steady and filled with compassion. The Lord has chosen to cast our iniquities as far as the east is from the west. Yet he calls us to walk in his light, armed with the knowledge of our frailty. Trust in his strength to transform us. The giants nodded, fortified by Noah's wisdom, yet a tempest lingered in their spirits, the echo of the heavenly warning still resonating in their ears. Beware, it had said, not all will walk this path of light. A foreboding thought crept into their minds, would there be those among them who would resist the call to redemption? Days turned into weeks as they labored in prayer, cultivating their new community. But the dense fog of uncertainty never fully lifted, and whispers of dissent began to circulate among some of the Nephilim. They questioned whether a new beginning could outshine the legacy of darkness they had inherited. A council was called, and voices both trembling and doubt-ridden articulated their fears. Will this not harden those who tread in the shadows? How can we trust our hearts when the stirrings of pride beckon us back into turmoil? Noah's heart broke at the fragility of their resolve, yet from within, a fire ignited. I tell you, it is the Lord who has called us here, and it is his promise that shall empower us. We have witnessed his miraculous deeds and his great mercy. Let us support one another, holding firm to the truth of our identity forged in him. And in that moment, a divine stirring began, the Spirit moved among the assembly, illuminating their doubts with his truth. But just as resolve strengthened amongst them, the skies darkened, and ominous clouds gathered as if the heavens themselves foretold an impending trial. "Beware the snares that lie ahead," Noah warned, gazing into the storm as tension rippled through the air. "We must remain vigilant. For within our union lies the power of choice, and therein lies both danger and destiny." And as the thunder rumbled in the distance, a shiver of anticipation filled the hearts of those present. Would they rise to the challenge, or would the shadows of the past prove too great? In that sacred moment, a new hope began to blossom amidst their uncertainty, whispering of a deeper truth yet to be unveiled, for the glory of God's plan must emerge from the tempest. As the winds howled, the darkness encroached upon the gathering, the weight of the tempest heavy upon the hearts of the Nephilim and Noah's family. In the face of the mighty storm, doubt hovered, threatening to unravel the fragile threads of their newfound unity. "Noah," Og rumbled, his voice mingling with the thunder, "the past looms like a specter in this storm. How do we stand firm when the memories of our forebears pull at our hearts like chains?" Noah lifted his gaze to the swirling heavens, a solemn embrace of his purpose enveloping him. "We recollect not for condemnation, but for deliverance. The Lord says in Isaiah 43 verses 18 to 19, Do not remember the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I will do a new thing. It is this new thing we stand in the gap for." With renewed fervor, the assembly held hands, the warmth of their unity brightening the encroaching gloom. Shem, emboldened by the fire of faith, spoke with conviction, "Let our prayers ascend like incense before him. Let us proclaim our reliance upon the one who has brought us from darkness into his glorious light." Their voices rose in a chorus as they called upon the Lord, the sound reverberating as if to pierce the very storm threatening their resolve. "O God of mercy, protect us. O God of grace, guide us." Then suddenly, before their eyes, as if the Lord had answered their cry, the storm began to part. A radiant light broke through the thick clouds, illuminating the faces of the gathered giants. The Nephilim stared in awe, their fears momentarily eclipsed by the blazing truth of divine presence. "It is his glory!" Goliath exclaimed, trembling with a mixture of fear and joy. "He has not forsaken us." "Indeed, the altar has been set," replied Noah, "and his fire still burns. We are not abandoned but born anew, called to seek his face and serve in his kingdom." Yet within the assembly, not all were persuaded. A murmur spread amongst a small few, that ancient discontent lingering within, an echo of what once was. "Will it truly be different?" One whispered. "Can we forsake all those who still dwell in darkness?" Noah, perceiving the discord brewing within their midst, raised a hand for silence. "Let us not be swayed by our past or the unseen whispers of doubt. For God, who promised to redeem, also promised to purge the sinful heart. He does not see as man sees." 1 Samuel 16 verse 7, a hush fell over the assembly as Noah's words echoed with authority. "We stand upon the precipice of destiny, our choices laying the foundations of generations to come. And thus, the revelation from the Lord came to me, from our lineage shall arise a legacy of faith." He looked upon each member of the gathering. "Though our ancestry may be entwined with shadows, the Lord's light will shine through. Each of us carries his promise. Will we rise to meet it?" With this stirring, hope ignited in their hearts. They remembered the faithfulness shared with one another, the prayers that had become like arrows of truth, striking down the walls of uncertainty. Yet, as they drew strength from one another, a distant rumbling echoed anew, not of the storm, but of something more profound, a warning for what lay ahead. "Behold!" Noah proclaimed suddenly, a somber weight upon him. "The Lord reveals that trial is near. He seeks not only our obedience but our trust. For those who remain obstinate shall face the consequence of their choices. The path to his promise is fraught with both blessing and test." Silence enveloped them once more, each member lost in contemplation, aware that the unfolding of God's plan would demand more than they could foresee, and thus, as they ended their worship, a whisper stirred upon their hearts, "For in the challenge of faith lies the true measure of our covenant." Only through the fire shall the pure gold of our redemption be revealed. As the light poured through the darkened skies, a stillness swept over the assembly. The radiance of the Lord's presence seemed to lift the weight of despair that hung so heavily upon them, transforming it into a flicker of hope. In that moment, visions danced like shadows across the hearts of those gathered, calling them to deeper understanding. "Noah," came the voice of Nimrod, breaking the silence with trembling reverence. "What truly lies ahead? What must we do to walk in the light from which we have been touched?" Noah turned his gaze upon Nimrod, his countenance softened by the weight of newfound understanding. Faith does not rest upon mere sight, but upon the promise of what is yet to unfold. The Lord speaks through his prophets, and he has not been silent in these days. We must learn to heed his voice. And just then, the ground quaked beneath them, a deep rumble that echoed through the heavens, not as judgment but as a herald of the divine. "Prepare yourselves," Noah implored, "for the path before us demands a commitment to the Lord. Our union, though forged in tumult, can become the vessel of his glory." Then suddenly, the air thickened with a fragrance, like myrrh and frankincense, filling their lungs and invoking their spirit. "The sacrifices are on the altar," Shem declared, grasping his father's arm. "Can we not see that our praises offer to him the very essence of our souls?" "Yes," came the chorus of voices, an echo of their faith rising toward the heavens. Each heart burned with fervor, ignited by the fervent understanding that even in trial, God was weaving hope through their very struggles. Yet, a shadow flickered across the faces of some, among them a figure known by the name of Saph. "What if this light casts a shadow deeper still, Noah? Will we not find ourselves isolated if our stance is different than those of old?" Noah's gaze fixed upon Saph with resolute strength. "Do not fear the solitude of faith, for God's call beckons us to a remnant that stands firm. His plans are ever for restoration, not just for ourselves but for many who are yet to come." A resolute fire ignited within Og. "I once walked in shadows, but now I see his righteous light. I too, long to be part of the new creation. Let us, Noah, into this promise." "Yes," they declared collectively, a swell of conviction cascading amongst them. And as their spirits converged in unity, the skies crackled once more with divine energy, as if a gateway to heaven had opened above. Within that moment, the Lord unveiled a vision to Noah, an ark not just of wood, but of hearts transformed. "Behold, I shall make my covenant with you. Through you, the nations shall witness my power," came the voice of the Lord, thundering against the stillness. "Wait," Goliath interjected, "what are we to do with those still in darkness? Are they to perish while we are saved?" "Ah, my beloved," Noah replied lovingly. "Let not your hearts grow weary. The Lord's hand is not short that it cannot save. For even the darkest shadows can become vessels of his grace. Trust in what lies ahead, for fulfillment is both a promise and a blessing." As the light dimmed, the clouds gently retreated, and the assembly stood charged with purpose among the remnants of the storm. They knelt together, holding hands, watching the sky stir with divine movement, and amidst the celestial, a new revelation began to dawn upon them. For within the heart of their struggle lay the stirring of a legacy, one that would redeem not just them, but a multitude beyond their understanding. "Even now, as you step forth into the unknown, know this: I am raising giants of faith among you, giants whose footsteps shall echo through the ages, proclaiming my grace." And thus the murmur of divine destiny breathed life into their calling, a promise wrapped in hope and fire, igniting a hunger for their place in God's grand tapestry. But deep within the shadows, a voice insinuated a deeper scheme, hinting at a trial greater than any faced before. Will they remain faithful? Will they endure? For the true measure of their choosing is yet to be revealed. As dawn painted the skies anew with hues of hope, a curtain of darkness unraveled to reveal a world reborn. The floodwaters receded, revealing not merely a desolate expanse, but a canvas alive with possibility, the remnants of chaos transformed into soil rich with promise. Noah stood upon the threshold of the ark, flanked by the Nephilim, the giants of old, now serfs of grace and faith. Unified under the banner of divine redemption, they felt the anticipation course through their veins, a symphony of futures reimagined. Brothers and sisters, Noah began, his voice echoing with a weighty authority, the great Creator has preserved us through judgment, not merely for survival, but for purpose. We stand at the dawn of a new covenant, one that embodies not just our past, but the illumination of His glory in our lives. The Nephilim, with their towering forms, loomed alongside Noah's family, their hearts beating in tandem with a fresh understanding of grace. Each repentant giant, once cloaked in shadows, now bore witness to the transformative power of God's mercy, their spirits ignited by the promise of a future free from the shackles of their yesterdays. Noah spoke, "O.G., his voice resonating like thunder, the weight of my lineage hangs upon me. Can we, such as we are, become leaders of light in our new legacy?" With firm resolve, Noah replied, "Your past is a testament, not a prison. God desires to draw the history from your heart, transforming it into a beacon of hope. Let us not shy from our origins, but see them as the soil from which new faith shall grow." The family gathered, linking arms with the Nephilim, the atmosphere charged with reverence. "Together we shall forge a new beginning," declared Ham, the joy bubbling over in his expression, united in testimony, believing that the shadows of our ancestry shall illuminate the path toward redemption. As they stepped forth from the ark and onto the land, the earth cradled their feet, welcoming their resolve. Every step marked the birth of a new trajectory, one that would carve the history of nations yet unborn. The sky brightened, and a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, as if nature itself breathed anew. A vision unfurled before their eyes, a new community blossoming amongst the emerging life, led by the conviction of faith and the bonds of unity. In their hearts sparked the call to share this hope among all of creation. Noah turned toward his family and the Nephilim, anxiety mingling with exhilaration. "We must build not just structures, but a sanctuary for all who yearn for His light. Let us create a reminder of the covenant. The rainbow in the sky shall be our pledge that He shall never again flood the earth." As those words left his lips, the heavens shimmered, and a radiant arch appeared against the backdrop of the sky, a divine promise, vibrant and resplendent. With eyes wide in wonder, the community stood together, basking in the assurance that was both new and ancient. Amidst this sacred moment, however, the lurking shadow of dissent reared its head. But what of those who refused to turn? What if the darkness emboldened still? Questioned Saf, a flicker of doubt shrouding him. Noah, fully aware of the delicate balance of redemption and choice, nodded somberly. "The journey of faith is one undertaken willingly. The Lord does not coerce, He invites. And we, strengthened by grace, must extend this invitation boldly. We are called to be light in places steeped in shadow. Love conquers fear, grace disarms pride." In that sacred assembly, the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on their spirits, a weight that carried within it the fragility of choice. Yet, as they took turns recounting their desires to serve, the echoes of their unified voices grew louder, resonating with a hope destined to change the course of history. They committed to tend to the land, to nurture each straggling seedling and every sprouting life, reflecting the Creator's artistry. And amidst their labor, they shared stories, a tapestry of regret and restoration, a tribute to their victories and failures alike. Fostering a culture of transparency and trust that as days turned into months, the community flourished, a swirling mosaic of family and faith, tribes united through renewed purpose in the name of the Almighty. And as they watched the sun dip below the horizon each evening, they would remind one another, "Our history does not seal our fate." Yet even in their blossoming unity, the haunting whispers of rebellion lingered, unseen yet palpable, echoing through their ranks. Goliath, with thoughtful intensity, pondered aloud, "Will we remain steadfast in the face of adversity, or will the ghosts of our past unite against us once more?" "Each day brings a choice," Noah said firmly, his heart emboldened, "and our allegiance shall steer the conversation between the light and darkness. We will gather in prayer, seeking wisdom for the days ahead, resolute in our identity as children of the covenant." Thus, as seasons ebbed and flowed, shadows flitted through their gatherings. The trials of faith that lay ahead beckoned, uncertain, yet threaded together by a promise, the unbreakable bond of love that transcended history and hardship. And so, as their voices rose in fervent prayer, embodying both sorrow and hope, reverberations of faith echoed into the ages. Hope was not lost, it was birthed anew in the heart of giants and men, as they strode forward into a world uncharted, an expedition unwavering towards God's sovereign calling for all humankind. Brothers and sisters, let God's word echo in your hearts. As you've journeyed through this sacred narrative, do not forget to subscribe now to stay connected with the powerful stories that continue transforming lives. Leave a like right now. Together, we can spread the awe-inspiring truth of His faithfulness to all corners of the earth. Share your own reflections on how this story has deepened your faith in the comments below. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth. Everyone deserves to witness the redemptive narrative of our Lord.